You went in to say one true thing. That's all it was. One thing that had been sitting in your chest for weeks, something that had actually happened, something you had every right to name. You rehearsed it. You kept it fair. You walked in steady. And somehow, you're not even sure of the exact second it turned. You walked out apologizing. Not them. You. You were the one who ended up reassuring, softening, taking it back. The conversation you started as the person who'd been wronged, you finished as the person who'd done the wounding. And the strangest part isn't that it happened once, it's that it happens every time. With this specific person, the arrow of blame only ever points one direction, and it is never at them. So you've decided they're manipulative, calculating, running a game on you. I want to take that away from you, because it's wrong, and being wrong about it is exactly what keeps you losing. For the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you a kind of person the internet keeps mislabeling. Someone who hunts using the one thing you would never suspect a predator of having, a wound. A real one. Stay with me. This one closes somewhere you won't see coming. Start with what you actually watched happen, because you did watch it. You just couldn't name it fast enough to stop it. There's a sequence. It moves so smoothly it looks like one motion, but slow it down and there are 3 beats. First, denial. Whatever you brought didn't happen, or didn't happen like that, or you're remembering it wrong. Then the pivot toward you. Suddenly the subject isn't what they did. It's how you're doing this, your tone, your timing, your cruelty, and even bringing it up. And then the final beat, the one that ends the conversation. They become the injured party. The person you came to hold accountable is now bleeding on the floor, and you're standing over them holding the thing that made them bleed. A psychologist named Jennifer Freyd gave this sequence a name in the 1990s. She was studying how people who had done genuine harm behaved the moment they were confronted with it, and the pattern was so reliable she built an acronym out of it. Deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. DARVO. The accused becomes the accuser in 3 moves, usually before you finished your first sentence. But naming it doesn't make you immune to it. And here's the detail the acronym leaves out, the one that should bother you. If it were only a trick, you'd eventually see through it. You'd build a callus. You don't. It lands on you the 100th time as cleanly as the first, which means it is not only a trick. Somewhere inside it, something is true. Here's what the trick explanation misses entirely. That person is not performing the wound. Watch their face when it happens. The panic in it is real. The hurt is real. They are not in that moment a con artist quietly congratulating themselves on the con. They genuinely feel like the victim of the conversation you are having. That is the engine. That is exactly why you cannot out-argue it. So the reversal you watched on the outside is not the real event. It's the visible edge of something older, running underneath, that started long before you ever walked into that room. To see it, you have to go back, decades back. Melanie Klein, working in London in the 1940s, described a maneuver so early and so deep that most of us never catch it running. When a feeling becomes unbearable, a feeling like I'm the bad one, I'm the one who caused harm, I'm guilty, a mind that can't hold it does something ingenious. It doesn't bury the feeling, it relocates it. It puts the badness into someone else and then feels it there at a safe distance as something being done to it. She called it projective identification, and it is not lying. That's the part you keep getting wrong. The person genuinely no longer has the guilt. They've moved it into you, so when you walk in carrying a legitimate grievance, you're carrying the exact feelings they spent an entire life learning to expel, and their system does to you what it has always done to that feeling. It pushes it away. Hard. In that moment, you're not an opponent. You're a container that got too full and has to be emptied back out. Sit with what that means for you specifically. Every time you confront this person, you're not being heard, because being heard would require them to take the guilt back inside, and their whole architecture exists to stop that from ever happening. You could be 100% right, it would change nothing. Being right was never the axis the thing turned on. Which leaves a harder question. If they cannot lose the argument, if the guilt always ends up back in you, then what is the argument even for? What are they actually winning? Not the argument, they're winning something. The argument is far too small to hold. They're winning the position of the victim. And the moment you understand that being the victim is a position, a place with real power flowing out of it, the phrase on the thumbnail stops being a contradiction and starts being a diagnosis. Fragile predator, the fragility is the method. Friedrich Nietzsche saw the whole machine in the 1880s. People who cannot win by strength, he noticed, invent another way to win. If you can't defeat the strong, you redefine strength itself as evil. You build a morality felt with total sincerity where your weakness becomes goodness, and the other person's confidence, their boundaries, their refusal to hand you what you want, all of it gets recategorized as cruelty. He named the fuel it runs on, resentment, a wound nursed so long it hardens into a value system. Install that machine in a single human being, and you have your fragile predator. In their moral universe, they are permanently the good one, because they are permanently the hurt one. And you, the instant you set a limit or simply exist in a way that fails to serve them, are cast as the aggressor, not accused of it. Cast as it. The role had your name on it before you walked in, and you can't fight a moral universe from inside it. The harder you defend yourself, the more aggressive you look, until you become, in real time, the villain they always said you were. So eventually you stop coming. Most people do. You go quiet, you keep your distance, you protect yourself, and you tell yourself the story is finally over. Except it isn't. You have a story too. Everyone does. Somewhere in you there is a grievance you return to, a person who wronged you, a thing that was done to you, a chapter where you were, cleanly and completely, the one who got hurt. And when you tell it, even silently, even only to yourself, something in you settles. The account balances. You are the good one, because you were the hurt one. I'm not going to tell you that story is false. It may be entirely true. That was never the question. The question is what it does for you and when it shows up, because it arrives on a schedule. It tends to appear at one very specific moment, right when the alternative would be to look at your own part in something. The friendship you also let rot, the person you also failed, the situation where the honest ledger has entries on both sides, and in that exact moment the wound presents itself, right on cue, and offers you the identical thing it offers the person you've been diagnosing this whole time, a place to stand where you don't have to hold the guilt. You run the small version constantly, the argument where you quietly edit your own worst line out of the retelling, the version of the breakup where you came off mostly reasonable, the low load-bearing certainty that in the conflicts that mattered you were, on balance, the one who deserved better. It feels like memory. A good amount of it is management. So ask the thing you've been avoiding since the cold open. If that wound of yours ever fully healed, if the debt got paid, the apology finally came, the account closed for good, would you be relieved, or would you lose something? Because a wound that organizes your innocence, that tells you reliably which of you is the good one, isn't only a pain, it's a possession, and nobody sets down a possession just because it hurts. The person who is always the victim is easy to point at, because in them the wound has swallowed the entire building. It's load-bearing for everything they are. Take it away and the structure comes down, so they defend it like their life depends on it, because in a way it does. That's your fragile predator. Not evil, not scheming, just someone who discovered, long before they had words for it, that the safest place to stand in any room is the position of the one who was hurt and who never learned to stand anywhere else. You learn to stand in other places too. That's the difference, and it's a real one, and you can take some comfort in it, but not too much. Because you kept a wound in reserve. You know the one. And if you're honest, you've noticed that you reach for it at very particular moments. The moments when the alternative would be to see yourself clearly. So here's what I'll leave you with, and I'm not going to answer it for you. If you set that wound down, all the way down, nothing owed, no one left to blame, would you still know who you were? Take it off tonight, the way you'd take off a coat, just for an hour, and see whether there's someone standing underneath who doesn't need to have been hurt in order to be good. Then decide which one of you came here to watch the predator, and which one of you stayed because you recognized the wound.